Hello YouTube, this is our future and the power's with the people. I know I haven't been doing much on the YouTube videos. Honestly, I've lost a couple of hundred subscribers. I think the censorship has gotten out of hand. And, honestly, I haven't seen much reason to put much content out. It almost seems like YouTube for people like us is just a sinking ship. There's really not much we can do with it, but I do enjoy doing it. There is content out there that I enjoy seeing. There are some things after the presidential debate, the last presidential debate. I'm not going to go into the election really. I mean, other than I think the whole process was pretty bad. But there were some points made, and I want to bring it up. And then there's some points that Biden made, our president-elect, and I want about the economy and about COVID and about the future to where we're going. And I want to play that for you now, and then I'll have some commentary towards the end. Just bear with me 1 second here. Okay, so this is the last presidential debate before the actual election. Let's see what he has to say right here. Just going to take one quick sentence from Biden, and I just want to show you something that how this whole thing comes to play out.
Our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change, climate warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years.
Okay, so again, the doom and gloom that if we keep going down the same road that we're going now, and of course they use the forest fires out west to glorify this, but they're saying 8 to 10 years, and it's all over with. France's president, he said 5 years ago we have 7 years left. So they keep doing this over and over and over again, and this is just ridiculous that they keep saying these things. And basically what they're trying to do is scare you into more regulations and scare you into more control, and of course more tax money. But listen to this.
To transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money and doing it. But it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod.
Excuse me.
Okay, I have one final
Would he
question.
close
It
down
falls-
the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the
falls-
oil
By the way, I
industry?
would transition from the oil industry, yes. I
Oh,
will
that's a big
transition.
statement.
It is a big statement
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal, but
That's a
you can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time, and I'd stop giving to the oil industry. I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. You won't give federal subsidies to the gas. Excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All right.
to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe
final.
Okay, so here in this final presidential debate, Joe Biden's basically saying he wants to go to a carbon net zero by 2025, which is 4 years. Then he goes on to say that he wants to end the oil industry and transition away from the oil industry. Well, there's a little thing called the petrodollar, and it's amazing to me that Trump did not say this word right here in this debate, because that would have been the first thing that would have come out of my mouth is, what do you plan on doing with the petrodollar? Because if you don't want to listen to what I have to say about it, let's see what other people have to say about the petrodollar. And consider that I haven't heard one single word from any news media, any politician, or any economist for that matter about the word the petrodollar.
Which at the time was the world's largest producer of oil, would sell the oil in US dollars. America would defend Saudi Arabia and make sure the House Assad would stay in power.
As a direct result of this US-Saudi agreement, all other oil-producing nations also adopted the dollar as the de facto medium of exchange. Demand for it increased exponentially all over the world, and soon it had a new name, the petrodollar.
Your currency is only as strong as the demand for it, just like anything else, the supply and demand. Why the petrodollar is important, it causes a demand for the US dollar. A lot of Americans don't realize that over 70% of all the $100 bills in the world are actually outside of the US. There's more $100 bills in Russia than there are in America.
This stockpile of US dollars in countries around the world is because oil is bought and sold using the greenback.
If oil starts trading in non-petrodollars, such as gold or a basket of currencies, or if China and Russia start trading in yuan and ruble rather than US dollars, that demand isn't there. And the way of life for the average American will be done. It will be worse than the Great Depression.
So, do you understand how serious destroying oil is? And sure, it sounds great to everybody that of course we all love the earth, and of course we all want to take care of it, but the United States is addicted to this, and there is no way out. And I can promise you, Biden does not have a plan for the dollar or after oil, or he would have said it. Trump knows he doesn't have a plan because Trump knows that the whole idea is to crash the U.S. economy. And let's see how else he plans on crashing the U.S. economy.
Capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the neighborhood, but there are, look, you need standard. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums. Do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump.
Okay, so there, and of course the ones hit the absolute hardest was, of course, the small businesses, small family-owned businesses, independently owned businesses, which the largest of the family-owned businesses, the ones that are owned by an actual, just a person, would be restaurants, would be bars, and would be gyms. Okay, so there's a reason why they're attacking restaurants, bars, and gyms and blaming COVID on these things. And that is because they want to destroy small business. Their idea of helping small business is giving small business more regulations and more debt. Okay? Restaurants and bars depend on seat capacity. All right? Pool halls, they depend on as many people they can get in there. Gyms, they need their customers in there too. Okay? So if you close those things down, you're taking away the right of the people to own and operate their own businesses. And Joe Biden's plan is for everybody to go into these green deals and get a job working for somebody else. And, the thing about the United States, the way I understand it, that has always been attractive to everybody around the world, and the reason people want to come here is because they have a chance to work for themselves. And we've gotten further and further and further away from that with big corporations and lobbyists and these CEOs that think that they're above the law and that they can tell us what to do. Now we come to this. And this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Kate Brown is obviously not the only governor doing this, but this just makes me sick, and I want you to hear it for your own ears if you hadn't heard this already.
Can you just once and for all be very clear about what role law enforcement will play in enforcing this?
Sure. These measures are enforceable by law, and those who don't enforce these measures put every single one of us at risk.
Do you want people calling the police on their neighbors, non-emergency lines, or 911?
Look, this is no different than what happens if there's a party down the street and it's keeping everyone awake. What do neighbors do? They call law enforcement because it's too noisy. This is just like that. It's like a violation of a noise ordinance.
That could be a yes.
Yes. But honestly, they shouldn't have to.
Okay, so that just absolutely disgusts me. I mean, I can't even describe that you have a governor. Hang on, excuse me here. You have a governor telling the public to rat out their neighbors if they see too many cars in the driveway on Thanksgiving dinner, for Thanksgiving. And I'm sure it's going to be even worse on Christmas, because I can guarantee you after Thanksgiving, Thursday, today is Wednesday, it's Wednesday morning, that they are going to try their best to lock everything down again and blame it on the mass public, saying, we told you not to have Thanksgiving dinner and you did it anyway, so you're definitely not having Christmas or New Year's or anything else. Did any of you guys watch the Masters a couple of weeks ago? Did it not break your heart that there wasn't a soul there? I mean, this is absolutely disgusting. And any of y'all, if y'all have been around, seen my channel, you know over the years, you know that I'm a respiratory therapist. I'm now working in a really small little place out in the country, and I love it. We do have COVID cases, but nearly every sick COVID patient that we've had has been over 80 years old. We have had a couple in their 60s, but all of them have comorbidities. But the majority of them are 90 plus. And that raises another question, because, you know, I'm just going to tell you how I feel about this. You know, I've been a respiratory therapist for over 20 years. But to me, this looks like a biological weapon, a designed weapon, just like H1N1 was. You know, it targeted 20 to 30-year-olds with comorbidities and pregnant women. This one's targeting people that's, 60 plus. But if you look, there was a CDC report that came out about 3 weeks ago that said even from 70 plus, the actual mortality rate was less than 1%. So we're doing all this, and once you get down below 70 years old, the mortality rate becomes nil, literally nil. I mean, of course, if somebody has a comorbidity or something like that, then of course they need extra precautions. But you do not shut down the country and spend trillions upon trillions of dollars of our kids and grandkids and great-grandkids' wealth that aren't even born yet. I'm talking about my great-great-grandkids. We're spending their wealth now over a disease, and everybody knows that the numbers have been falsified. Everybody knows that these tests is like flipping a coin. There's too many false positives. There's too many false negatives. None of these tests, especially the PCR test, they're amplifying it way above the range that is recommended for the test. And that's how you're getting all these numbers. Okay, are there people dying? Of course there are people dying, but the number is a lot smaller than the media is letting on. And also when it comes to hospital bed availabilities, they're really misleading you with that too, because in my entire career, we've always fought for bed control, especially when it comes to critical patients. So you have to move patients around. Hospitals are in business to make money. They like patients to be in the hospital. No hospital wants an empty hospital. So hospitals are routinely full. But since COVID, hospitals have basically been shut down. Nobody comes to the hospitals. You know, they shut down elective procedures. They shut all this stuff down, and they're slowly opening it back up again. And then they're saying we're having more hospital admissions, and there's shorter beds available, and that's to be expected. That's not because of COVID. It's just normal. So everybody really needs to understand what's going on. You know, and I'm sorry, you know, for the Trump lovers out there, but, and I agree that the election was a sham, but I also believe that